I'm Solara Jean. We're going to do a Pilates class focusing on abs. So you're going to want to have a mat, and that's all you'll need. If your head needs something to rest on to feel more supported in your neck, you can have something under your head. Make sure if you have hair that your hair isn't in the way of your head resting on the ground. So you can't have a ponytail or a bun kind of here. It's got to be either really high or really low. So your head and your neck can be neutral. You don't want to be struggling with your head when it gets a chance to rest, because we're going to be doing a lot of work. The front of the body includes the neck. The neck muscles will get some work along with our abs. But if you have neck issues, we're going to look at what to do to make ab work easier for your neck. So just begin in a nice neutral place. Allow your pelvis to rest, tailbones heavy into the mat, which means your lower back has a small arch. Not a big one, but you're not pressing it into the ground. And just take a breath into your belly. And exhale. Pull your belly gently into your spine. As the air goes out, your belly can sink in. And just do a few breaths like this. Inhaling, your belly will expand like a balloon filling up. Exhaling, draw the belly deep and wide and let it flatten towards the spine as the air goes out, emptying that balloon. And there's no reason to tighten or clench or squeeze, because we want to just deepen and sink and get the muscles deepest to the spine to engage. If you clench or squeeze, it's going to push the muscles out. We want to pull them in. So it might feel different than abs that you're used to. So just one more breath. Just see, can you just kind of pull the navel and the belly deep and flat, and imagine it sinking, not necessarily tensing or tightening. Now let that sinking of your belly curl your tail, rolling your tail up into the Coccyx Curl, which is the Pilates name for a pelvic tilt. And then inhale back to neutral. Do this a few times. We're just warming up the low abs and the low back. The feet want to press into the floor so the belly can pull into the spine. And it's a small action. We're just rolling through the pelvis, not really lifting the hips up out of the floor. And find your neutral. So that's a little bit of low abs, how they can move the spine. Now we're going to look at how the low abs can stabilize the spine. So put your hands on your hip bones, the heel of the hand on the hip bone and the fingers on your pubic bone, all the way down the front of the pelvis, the bottom of the front of that pelvis. Now, if your hands are flat, relatively flat will mean you're neutral. If your fingertips are up a lot higher than the heel of your hand, you know you're in a tuck. If your fingertips are lower, you know you're in an arch. Everybody's neutral is a little different. So don't force yourself to be somewhere that doesn't feel good, but just make sure if your habit is to tuck, watch those fingers popping up. If your habit is to arch, watch those heel of your hands popping up. And your hands can give you an idea of, am I keeping stable and neutral? Now, using the hands to kind of give you a sense of not moving your hips, exhale, deepen that belly and just lift one knee up. You're folding your knee and you're folding your hip. Now you'll put it back down. And we're just going to alternate. Exhale, fold the other knee. Inhale at the top. Exhale, deepen that belly to put the foot back down. And you just switch with your own breathing. Now, you want to exhale to lift the leg, because that's when it's easiest to deepen the belly. You can inhale to put your foot back down, or you can exhale to lift it, pause to inhale, And exhale, deepen that belly to make sure the belly is helping lower the foot down. Figure out which breath feels best for you and just stick with that one because you don't want to stress out about breathing. And we're just going to do one more each leg, trying to keep the hips as still as you can. So when you lift the knee, notice if you want to twist and try to make the belly hold the hips stable. And also notice if when you lift the knee, you want to tuck your tail, or maybe your back wants to overarch, and try to use the belly to keep the ribs and the pelvis stable. So now we've done those knee folds starting with the feet down. Now we're going to add challenge. Lift one foot up, make that belly sink to help pick the leg up. Exhale, lift the second leg. Both legs are going to be in a tabletop position, 90-degree knee joint, 90-degree hip joint. Keep that shape and just try to hinge from the hip to take the foot towards the floor and then hinge back up. Try the other side. Maybe you can touch the floor, but maybe not. The goal is to keep the stability of the pelvis, the ribs, and the spine. So if I cannot keep my hips and my spine stable, I'm only going to go so far that I feel like my belly's sinking with that breath leaving. My exhale is the time to pull the belly flat. And I just go as low as I can keep that belly sinking. If you feel your stomach begin to push away from your spine, you know you went maybe too low. Now just hug your knees into your chest. As you hug your knees to your chest, you're keeping a sense of pulling your thighs and folding your hip joint and allowing your tail to curl. We don't stay neutral when we hug those knees in. If your knees don't like a lot of pressure or compression, grab behind your calves because we really want to fold the hip. Now we're going to take one more lower ab challenge. Find that tabletop again. Let the hands find that place to give you some feedback about what your pelvis is doing. Now, both legs are going to go together. It's a lot harder. Don't go so low that you feel your abs leaving that deep supportive place. Exhaling down and inhaling back up. Or if you prefer, you can inhale down and exhale back up, whatever works. If you find that it's easy to touch the floor with your toes, you can flex your feet and then you've got a further distance. But don't make it so challenging for yourself that you're not feeling the belly deepening and you're not keeping the stability. The stability is the most important thing, along with breathing through your movement. Now go ahead. Hug your knees in and give a little rest. Great. So that is some flow apps focusing on that lower part of the belly. That part is sometimes harder to feel, harder to work. If you don't feel them working, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are not working. You don't need to look for a special feeling in your body, really. You just want to think about moving, breathing, keeping it simple. And with abs, it's that sinking in. There's really never a reason to like squeeze and clench because that will just create a lot of tension. And what we want to create is movement with stability and mobility playing against each other. We don't want to really move with tension because then our joints don't have a lot of ease. So now we're going to look at curling the other end of the spine, a more traditional sit-up, but you're not going to think about anything you ever learned in a traditional sit-up because most of that is kind of biomechanically wrong. Now, I want to start with what does my head do? So we're going to look at that head nod. It's kind of like a coccyx curl, but for our skull and our neck. So I want to draw my chin to my chest without lifting my head. I can't go that far. It's a small movement. And then I relax. And let's do that just a couple more times. Now you can have your hands resting on your pelvis. You could put them up on your ribs. You could rest them by your sides. Those are all fine. It's better to not have them back here because this creates a different shape for the shoulder girdle and the upper back. And we want, as our neck draws our chin to our chest, we want the back of the neck and the upper back to open. So as my head tilts, my shoulder blades need to spread out and widen, and they even kind of move up my back a little. As I'm doing this, I don't want to hold my shoulders down because, again, tension is never the goal. The goal is movement. I want to keep my spine stable, but I want to let my shoulders move because they are connected to my skull and to my neck. So now I take it a step further. I say, oh, I want to keep going to where my head lifts, but it's not a sit up yet. It's really like a neck up. I'm feeling the muscles in my neck, and then I roll back down. The thing I don't want to do is lead with my chin forward. That means I've lifted my head without curving my neck. And I want to create that curve. So my chin is always going down towards my chest. I'm trying to curve my neck back to get the top of my head to point towards the ceiling. I don't want to lift and leave the top of my head pointing back to the wall behind me. That will not feel good or be beneficial. The curling chin down, rolling the back of the neck long, that might be a weird sensation, but these muscles in the front of our neck are engaging. Now, if your neck has problems and it's not appropriate to lift the head all the way, you don't have to do it. Let's all remember, you always want to do only the things that feel good for your body. The option is to give your neck support if you feel like you want to do that movement, but it's too much for those muscles of your neck to work. Hold your head with your hands. Bring your elbows up to the ceiling so your shoulder blades widen across your back. Then you can give your neck the same range of motion, curling, and your hands are helping. And this can be a way to just give your neck that range of motion, or you can gently, gently pull and give your neck a stretch. Go ahead and give your neck that stretch for a moment. And I'm gently pulling, but I'm not yanking. I'm not trying to do a sit-up. The front of my belly should be long, like my head was still down, because I'm only curling from my neck, my collarbones, and above. Nothing below really changes. Now I've lowered my head back down. Let's keep our hands behind our head in the shape and go into a full curl. I'm going to curl my head, my neck, my upper back until my ribs begin to fold down. I want to keep neutral. Don't lift that pubic bone up and tuck. Keep the neutral spine so the hips are folded and the lower back is just long. Inhale back to resting. Exhale, curve it up. Now I have choices. If my neck needs support, I want my hands to really hold my neck. So my neck is curling in a supported way, and I'm not challenging those neck muscles. If I don't want to challenge them, this is the choice I make to give support. If I don't need support, I can reach my arms and let my arms participate in a different way, giving them something to do to help me curl that chin to chest, rolling up until I'm in an abdominal curl. Now, this last time we're going to curl up, we're going to stay up. I'm reaching my arms down, but if I want to give my neck support, I can just reach my hands back, cradle my head anytime I want to. Breathing, exhaling, deepening that belly. Take one more breath here. Choosing how much challenge you want. Sinking, flattening that belly while keeping that neutral. Now I'm going to roll back down. So that's the path we take when we're curling from our head. So now let's give our head and our neck and our upper abs a moment of rest. Let's go back to curling our tail. I'm going to reach my arms down. My feet are still flat on the mat. I want to make sure that my feet are still lined up under my hips. If my feet are wider than my hip sockets, my knees won't have a clear path of alignment. You don't have to have your legs all the way together. You can if you want a lot of inner thigh challenge. But generally, when we do these actions where we're using our legs, we want our feet and knees right under our hip sockets, which are inside, not the outer hip, but the socket, kind of putting your fist to the inside of those hip bones, and that'll tell you where your sockets are, and you want your heels under that. So in that nice, beautiful alignment, you're gonna curl the coccyx curl. Keep going. Press your feet down through the floor and let the backs of your legs help you tuck your hips and roll your spine up. Inhale, exhale, roll it back down. Now I still wanna make my belly do its work for moving the vertebrae. So I wanna go vertebrae by vertebrae, sinking my belly in, keeping that curling. I don't want to lift so high I start uncurling and arching my back. That's a yoga bridge. Pilates bridge, I want my pubic bone to be the highest point. And then I want to roll vertebrae by vertebrae. These kinds of Pilates bridges are about articulating the spine, working those joints, moving them one by one as I roll up. Inhale at the top. Exhale, roll back down, vertebrae by vertebrae. And just one last time, feeling the balance of my legs are working, my glutes are working, but my abs are also working because I'm pulling them in. Inhale, exhale, deepen, pull those abs back to the spine to help you roll back down. Great. Now the hamstrings got a little work, so I'm going to give them a stretch by stretching my legs up to the ceiling for a moment. You can point and flex your feet. If your hamstrings aren't quite flexible enough for you to have a fully straight leg and a fully neutral spine, you can bend your knees a little bit so your back is in a safe, comfortable place. And then let's hug those knees into the chest again, giving the spine a little chance to curl in a passive way. Now we're going to go through a series of ab exercises. And as we go through these, you have those choices for your neck. If your neck really doesn't like curling up at all, leave your head down, leave your head neutral, and just do the lower portion of the body, which is harder in some ways because the abs have to hold the ribs down without the help of being in that curled shape. So you can leave your head down neutral. You can leave your hands behind your head and give your head that cradle of support. Or you can let your hands be free, let your head be free, and your hands will have things to do as we go through this series. There's 5 of them. So choose wisely with your neck. Don't let your neck be irritated by this stuff. You can always switch it up, give your neck a break, go back to curling it up, add your hands as you go. If you're using your hands, your right hand will touch your left knee. Your left hand will touch your left side of the calf towards your ankle. Now I want to get that neutral pelvis. So my knees are up, but my tail is down, and I'm going to curl my chin to my chest unless I want to keep my head neutral. From this place that I've chosen to be, my right leg stretches out. I don't want to stretch it so low that I can't keep my sacrum and my rib cage on the ground, taking it high enough to be challenging but supported. Changing those legs, breathing in for 2 kicks and breathing out for 2 kicks. Inhaling, exhale, deepen the belly. Keep breathing. Keep sinking the abs. If you're in a curled place, keep trying to curl as an action. Don't curl as a position and then let it get kind of lazy. Trying to get the top of the head to point to the ceiling. You don't want your head hanging back. This will give my neck a bad, unsupported shape. If I can't keep that curl because my neck needs help, I'm going to hold my head. One more breath. And if I can't lift my head or I don't want to lift my head, this is what it will look like. And then hug the knees to the chest. So that is called single leg stretch. Now we are going to do double leg stretch. So I'm going to make the choice with my neck. For me, I'm going to curl up, but you can do what you want. I will inhale, stretch my arms back, stretch my legs out. Exhale, circle my arms as I pull my knees back into this hugging like a little ball. Inhale, open my shape. Exhale, circle, try to curl more if I'm curling. Try to deepen more if I'm not curling. And try to deepen more either way. Exhale, keep the tail down, but pull those knees back to the chest. And if you're curled up, try to curl up more as you return. Last one, inhale, stretch. Exhale, deepen, draw it back to your starting shape and rest. Great, so double leg stretch. Now comes single leg pull, which looks like this. I've got my legs up again, but I want that neutral. So if I need to have a bend in my knee, that's what I'll do. Keeping the back supported is more important than stretching the leg. I'm going to grab the back of my calf of one leg and let the other leg stretch away, but I'm focusing on pulling that calf towards me. And then I scissor my legs. This is what it looks like if I choose to keep my head down. If I choose to curl my head up, then this is what it looks like. Focus on pulling the leg towards you to give your hamstring a stretch. And keep that breath moving. Keep that belly sinking. If I need help with my neck, but I want to curl up, then I just let my legs move themselves and I don't have my hands guiding my legs. And last breath, stretching that hamstring and then rest. So that is single leg pull. Now, double leg pull. Everyone will hold their head with their hands if you're choosing to curl up. If you're choosing to stay neutral, you can put your hands wherever you like. Legs stretch up. Curl up if you want to, don't if you don't. Now both legs lower and exhale, return. If your hamstrings are tight, you're going to have a bended leg, but you're not going to change the shape of the leg. You're hinging from that hip joint. It's like the knee fold we began with, but much, much more challenging. If you feel like it's too much, you can bend your knees and go back to that kind of knee fold style action. One last time, inhale the feet away or the knees, exhale, pull it back, deep belly, and then take a rest. Hug those knees in. That's double leg pull. Now the last one is called twist or crisscross. It is the first exercise with a bit of a rotation. So your hands will hold your head. Your legs will go back to that one knee's in, one leg's out. I'm going to curl back up and then I'm going to rotate. And I'm gently twisting my chest. Don't think elbow to knee. That can just look like this and I'm not really doing anything other than flapping my arms. Chest to opposite knee. Curling up as much as I'm rotating. Don't let it rock the body side to side. Now, if you can't curl up, you can add a little challenge by reaching one hand across the body toward that knee. That'll give your obliques a little bit of a challenge. If you're curled up, you're holding your head. You really don't want to do this without the support of the neck because it helps guide your head to not rotate too far because we're twisting the chest. We're not twisting the neck. You shouldn't be whipping your head around side to side. Rotating the chest and then rest. Whew. Now that one is kind of the most killer of them all. So if you're feeling your abs burning, yeah, that's pretty common. All right, let your feet rest. Now we're going to stretch our abs and then we're going to work the back of the body a moment. Roll onto your stomach. Prop yourself up. Oh, my hair has come out of its My hair's having technical difficulties. I've got to fix it because you don't really want your hair flopping around, really, when you're exercising. All right. So we're stretching our abs. We need to work our abs, sure, but we don't want to just work them and work them and work them and leave them tight. We want to give them a stretch. So the way to do that is prop yourself on your elbow and your hand. Now I want to keep my pubic bone on the floor, but then I want to kind of press my ribs and my chest up and away from that pubic bone. Reach my legs long and active to give my lower back some support. I don't want to feel like I'm crunching my lower back, but I do want to feel like I'm stretching my abdominals. If you've got issues in your lower back and this isn't a good position for you, go ahead and just skip it. And one more breath. And then come on back and give yourself a moment in that child's pose position. And if child's pose doesn't work for your body, you just are going to go onto your back. And again, hug those knees to the chest to give yourself that rounded lower back. So then let's go back one more time to our stomach. And we're going to do the swan. Because when we work the abs a lot, we also want to remember we work the back of the body a little bit because we curl over so much and abs essentially curl us over. So we want to strengthen them, but we want to balance out for our posture to work that back. So I'm going to have my arms reaching back behind me, my forehead down. As I exhale, I lift my eyes, my chest, I reach my arms back. My belly's working, so I want to lift it up out of the mat to give my lower back length and support because I'm trying to arch my upper back. The crown of the head's reaching more forward to the wall in front of me. I don't want to lift my chin and flip my neck into a clenched, tight place. I want the back of my neck long, reaching top of the head more than chin. And I roll down. Let's just take this 4 more times, using my exhale to guide that spine to extend. Don't lift so high or hold so long up there that your back doesn't feel happy. The challenge of this is to move those vertebrae just below your neck, up between your shoulder blades. The upper back is often kind of a place of stuckness. So I want to think of vertebrae by vertebrae, bending that place between my shoulder blades and opening my chest, lifting my breastbone, opening my collarbones. Last one. Exhale, long neck. This is called swan, I think, because of that long neck. I'm reaching the top of my head forward, looking at my mat. I'm not reaching my chin forward and looking at the wall ahead of me. And then go ahead, take your body back to whatever position you like to give your lower back a stretch. And take a couple of breaths there. Great. All right, so now we're going to look at how do the abs help us in a different position. So laying on our back is one kind of ab work, but we're going to go onto our hands and knees now, which is a different kind of ab work. Now they're working against gravity. So I want to be in that same neutral place. I don't want my tail curling down and my lower back rounding, but I don't want my tail flipping up and my lower back overarching. I'm right in the middle. So the sacrum should be pretty flat, tailbone's reaching back, but the belly is zipping up a bit. Same with my shoulders. I don't want to sag and let my shoulder blades collapse together. I want to press down through my hands and widen my upper back. So just in this position, I'm just going to breathe in, let my belly relax toward the floor. And then as I exhale, I'm going to draw those muscles inward, deepen, widen, flatten my belly up into my spine. Inhale, let the belly sag to the floor. Exhale, let the belly float up and in, away, fighting gravity, but not clenching, not tucking, not changing the shape of the back, just supporting it. One more inhale. Exhale, deepen that belly. Try to feel it zip up away from your spine. Great. Now what I'm going to do is take a little more challenge. I want to tuck my toes under. Now, for some of us, when we don't do a lot with our feet might not want to do this tuck place. If that's the case, you could roll up a towel, or if you have a foam roller, you could put something under your bottom of your shin instead of having it be your feet. Because if this hurts your feet so much that you can't stand it, then it's not for you. You can make a modification. So figure out what's going to work. And then the reason I've either tucked my toes or I've propped myself up is now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my knees and breathe. Inhale. Exhale, pull that belly up. I want to make sure that I didn't lean forward and make my shoulders do more of the work. I want to keep that shoulder back behind my wrist a little bit. Last breath, lifting the belly up, letting the belly hold you up without the help of your knees makes it a lot more challenging. Now we're going to take one more challenge. If your wrists are struggling and you don't like having weight on your hands, you can go onto your elbows. And going onto your elbows, you just make sure that your shoulder is on top of or a little bit behind your elbow. Don't let your shoulder get in front of your elbow, because then your shoulders and your neck are going to take a lot of load and take over the work from the rest of the body where we want to work it, which is going to be more in the abs. So either you're on your hands or you're on your elbows. That shoulder is lined up either over your elbow or over your wrist, not leaning forward. I'm going to take one leg back, standing on that toe, and then the other. Actually, I'm the ball of the foot. I'm not on my toe itself. I'm on the ball of the foot, and I'm letting my toes bend. Now both legs are back. I want to keep pushing my hands through the floor, reaching my heels behind me. Reaching the heels back will help. If I point my toes, it's going to send me forward. Heels go back, hands go down, belly goes up out of the floor, and then I just reach that top of my head forward. If I can send my energy in every direction, it's much easier to suspend myself. And I'm just breathing and breathing and breathing and giving my belly a little sink every time I breathe out. And then I'm going to rest when I need to rest. And I'm going to go to child's pose or flip over and hug knees to chest. Give yourself a little break. Now, of course, I'm explaining these things. If you stop before I tell you it's time to stop, totally up to you. I don't care. I want you to do what feels good to you. It's not going to make me happy for you to suffer 10 seconds longer. B, I can't see you. So don't feel like you need to keep going if everything in you is telling you to stop. You want to challenge yourself without making it like torture. I think exercise should feel good. Not every moment feels good. Sometimes you're working muscles and you're like, geez, this is hard. I want to stop. But if you reach a point where you're like, oh my God, I really have to stop. This is awful. Always stop, or it's awful, and just like side plank. Again, a good time to know when you're done. Don't hold it to the point you think you might just fall. We're going to try to come up and down as gracefully as we can. So I'm in kind of a position. My knees are bent a little bit. I've got one foot in front of the other. I can stack my, I like to have one in front of the other. It's up to you what you choose. If my feet are too close to me, it's not going to work. If they're too far from me, it won't work either. You'll figure it out. If it doesn't feel right, you can always pause and adjust. My hand should be in front of me. Don't want to change me. My shoulder won't like that. Make sure of your own shoulder. Now, this arm has choices. I can kind of keep it toward the floor if I need it for balance. I could put it on my hip. I could also reach it with me as I go. I'm going to choose something in the middle today. I'm going to have my hand on my hip, which kind of gives me a sense of keeping straight. What I want to do is just press my legs straight, press my arms straight, lift my body up, and now I'm in a side plank. And I think I want to feel further away. So I kind of am going to scoot a little bit and then go back up. Yep. And my shoulder likes this better. I'm not feeling like my shoulder's too far forward over my wrist. Now I'm going to reach that arm out. I'm trying to lengthen my waist in the floor up. Don't let that sag. Lift the waist that's down towards the floor. I'm breathing and I'm breathing. And now I'm like, oh, I think, okay, bending my body down slowly. That's ideal. Again, if that's not how it worked out for you, that's okay. We're all practicing. The other side. This is another time if your wrist needs pressure, do this on your elbow. And it would just look like this. And doing it on the elbow is easier on the wrist. It's more difficult in some other ways. And it's not like, oh, you need to work your way up. Some people don't like weight on their wrists, and that's fine. Pick the thing that feels the best. Try to line things up like they were on the other side and go ahead, exhale. Hand pushes down, legs push long and straight, and then I'm hovering in my side plank. I'm going to reach that arm up, but I'm still pressing down through the floor, pulling in through the belly, lifting the waist out of the ground, not letting my hips sag, but trying to get a nice straight line through my spine. And this side. And then I want to bend my knees and lower myself down as gracefully as I can. Great. Now from here, just bend both of your knees. You're going to have one foot in front of you like a crisscross applesauce, and then the other foot kind of poking behind you. It's this weird position. Both ground equally. Don't try to grind. That's got the foot in front. Reach that arm out to the side. Have it where you see it in peripheral vision. You don't want the arm behind you because we're going to side bend. And that arm should be a little more in front of the body. If I throw that arm behind, my shoulder joint is in a really bad place. That arm needs to be in front of me enough to feel like there's freedom to release over. So if your shoulder feels stuck, try bringing your hand forward, and it should feel better. And then you're going to come out. Now you're going to change your legs. The foot that was behind now goes in front. And the foot that was in front goes behind. So then the foot in front, that arm reaches. And I side stretch. Keep feeling that that arm is more forward. So you can open up your waist and you can just keep your eyes forward. You don't need to look up to the ceiling. That's just a lot of things that our neck maybe doesn't really need to do. Just want to open up our waist. And now bend knee, come back to laying on your back and just back. Now we're going to take one final ab challenge. This is the roll up from our tail, rolling from our head. It's one of those ones where you can struggle with it and it's not satisfying. But if you only get halfway up, don't jerk and try to cheat your way into full up. You're going to go as far as you go, and then you're going to go back down. So the whole thing would look like this. I reach up to the ceiling. As I inhale, I reach my arms back. And as I exhale, I reach them forward and I roll and I follow my hands and I roll through my spine. Rounding over, inhale. And then as I exhale, I keep reaching my hands forward, but I vertebrae back down. So if something like this happens, you begin rolling and you get so stuck, that's fine. That's as far as your spine wants to go. Fluidly vertebrae by vertebrae back down. Let's just do 2 more. As you're rolling up, which you don't want to do if you get scared and struggly, that will never lead you down a path toward better movement. And it's not a good idea to wrench, get stuck halfway. A better choice would be maybe give you a chance to see, can you roll all the way through? That's acceptable. You can give yourself assistance, but you want to keep that movement fluid through your spine and keep your spine centered. Last time, no wriggling side to side, rolling straight, vertebrae by vertebrae. Think of that spine curling 1 vertebrae at a time. And then let yourself relax. Let your arms and your legs rest. You can have your legs out flat. If your back is heavier with your knees bent, that's fine. Just take 1 nice deep breath. Let everything settle. Okay, great. So that's some good ab work. If you are interested in doing a private session, I'm available here in the studio with you in person. I'm also available to be remote and you can come into the studio and do your session and I can guide you, but we don't have to expose each other. I can also do sessions with you in your home or your office through Zoom. So yeah, there's plenty of ways for you to get personalized attention if you want something extra that you're not finding in these videos. But I hope you're enjoying them. And next time we'll work on something else. All right, thanks so much.